Good morning, students. This lesson is of class 8 for the subject of history, chapter 5, from traders to rulers, starting on page number 45 of your textbook, past and present 8, and is being submitted to you on 12th July 2021. This voice is of Milli Bhatnagar. India had commercial relations with the countries of the West since ancient times. As the Mughals could not guard their sea coast properly, it became easy destination for the Europeans who fought for the control of Indian trade and rich natural resources. The Portuguese succeeded in establishing their trading centers in Cochin, Goa, Daman, and Diu. Then came the Dutch, who set up their factories at Masulipatam, Pulicat, etc. These factories were called so not because anything was manufactured there, but because the officials of the company, called factors, resided there. The factories engaged in trade in goods which were in demand in Europe, like spices, cotton, indigo, and silk. As different European powers were engaged in trade, they wanted to earn more and more profits. So they were involved in conflicts. The main powers were the British and the French. We will briefly study about them here. On 31st December 1600, Queen Elizabeth I granted a royal charter to the English East India Company, giving it the sole right to trade with the East. So the East India Company undertook its early voyages to Sumatra, Java, and then made an attempt to set up factories in India. They were given permission in 1612 to set up their first factory at Surat. The other similar factories were set up at Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta. In 1664, the French East India Company was formed to compete with the English and the Dutch East India Company. It was controlled by French government, which was harmful for its progress. It set up factories in Pondicherry, now Puducherry, Masulipatam, Mahe, and Karaikal. England and France, who were traditional rivals, had conflicts in India. There were three Anglo-French wars, or Carnatic Wars, fought in India between 1744 to 1763. The first Carnatic War was the impact of war in Europe between England and France. As the British threatened to occupy Pondicherry, the French occupied Madras. The end of war in Europe ended the conflict in India. The British and the French involved themselves in the affairs of India, and this led to the Second Carnatic War. On the issue of succession to the thrones of Hyderabad and Carnatic, the British and the French supported rival candidates. In Hyderabad, the French supported Muzaffar Jung, while the British supported Nasir Jung. In Carnatic, the French supported Chanda Sahib, while the British supported Muhammad Ali. The British defeated the French forces. The Third Carnatic War was also an outcome of the war between the two in Europe. After the peace treaty was signed, the French power significantly declined and the British began to look for much opportunities in India. Let us take a short break. You are requested to kindly pause your audio for 3 to 4 minutes after listening carefully to the questions and write the answers in your notebooks. Number 1. When was the French East India Company formed? Number 2. Name the European powers who came to India for trade. Number 3. Between which European powers were the Carnatic Wars fought? Answers. Number 1. 1664. Number 2. Portuguese, Dutch, British and French. Number 3. The British and the French. Let us continue our lecture and study about the British conquest of Bengal. In the 18th century, Bengal was a rich province. When the British were granted trading privileges by the Mughal Emperor Farrukhsiyar, they started misusing the privileges. This problem continued between the Nawabs and the British. Ali Vardi Khan tried to control the situation by taking two steps. The officials of the company who engaged in private trade were required to give customs duty, thus trying to stop the misuse of duty-free trade privilege granted to the English East India Company. The company was told to not extend its fortifications. Sirajuddaula, who became the Nawab in 1756, asked the British to remove their fortifications in Calcutta. When the British refused to obey, the Nawab marched with an army and occupied Fort William. The British soon took back the factories. Now Mir Jafar, the commander-in-chief of the Nawab's army, Jagat Seth, an influential banker, and Ami Chand, a rich merchant, joined their hands together with the British to depose Sirajuddaula. So the armies of the Nawab and the British faced each other at Plassey on 23rd June 1757. A large section of Nawab's army refused to help. Consequently, Sirajuddaula was captured and killed. Mir Jafar was proclaimed as the new Nawab of Bengal. He paid large sums as gift or bribes to the high officials of the company. The happiness of Mir Jafar becoming the Nawab did not last long. Being a puppet in the hands of the British, Mir Jafar failed to comply with their increasing demands. So he was replaced by Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim tried to free himself from the British interference. He transferred his capital from Murshidabad to Munger. He abolished all duties on internal trade of Indians in Bengal to provide equal opportunities to the British and the Indians for trade. The British were both surprised and alarmed at these moves of the Nawab. Mir Qasim was defeated by the British and he fled to Awadh. There he formed an alliance with Shujauddaulah, the Nawab of Awadh, and Shah Alam II, the Mughal emperor, in order to expel the British from Bengal. In the Battle of Buxar, the Indian army was defeated. So, Battle of Buxar clearly displayed the superior military power of the British. We will continue our lecture and study about the Treaty of Allahabad, signed in 1765, by which Shah Alam II gave the right to collect revenue of Bihar, Bengal and Orissa to the British. Shujauddaulah gave the districts of Kara and Allahabad to the British and also a sum of 50 lakh rupees. Mir Jafar was again made the Nawab of Bengal. Thus, Battle of Buxar completed the work of Plassey. While on the one hand, the entire power and finances came under the control of the company with no responsibility. On the other hand, Nawab had all responsibility of running the administration without proper finance. This form of governance was known as dual government. This system proved to be fatal for the people, as neither the company nor the Nawab cared for them. Students, we will continue with this chapter next week. Please read page number 45 to 51 of your textbook again. With this, we end this session. Thank you.